scary. This is creepy.
I was recently exploring Google Earth in search of strange geology when I came across this massive and mysterious black blob. After further investigation, I learned that this oil spill-looking expanse was a gigantic basalt deposit from a raging volcano that transformed the landscape of this region. But things really got interesting when I learned that this basalt field was one of the many byproducts of a system of volcanoes in the area that left behind a variety of geologic anomalies. Perhaps the most astonishing of all are the lava tunnels that run discreetly underground. But what are lava tunnels, and how would something like that even form? I knew that this was something that I would need to see for myself, so I headed into the desert in seek of answers. And what I was met with was far stranger than I could have imagined. The first stop on this journey was the sprawling basalt field that originally caught my eye on Google Earth.
All right, so we've just pulled over to kind of stop and get a close-up look at some of this volcanic rock that is just absolutely covering this area. It's just super impressive how much of this rock is just piled up here, and it's all just jagged. So I'm going to kind of scramble up some of this rock and see if I can get a vantage point and just start to kind of observe here. I'll tell you, scrambling on these large basalt rocks are a bit tricky because they're very unstable. So definitely got to be careful. This stuff just goes on forever. Got a vantage point now.
The Ice Springs lava field is a jarring sight and is hard to make sense of by just looking at. The anatomy of the ice springs can be explained by the fact that it was not one, but a cluster of 4 spatter and cinder cones, or vents, that oozed roughly 700 million cubic yards of lava into this field. The name Ice Springs comes from the fact that the natural cavities in the basalt provide cool pockets for ice to accumulate and last nearly year-round. It is said that before the days of refrigeration, farmers would use the cavities in the ice springs for food storage. When looking from above, older basalt can be distinguished by its darker brown color compared to the younger light brown basalt, which erupted as recently as 700 years ago.
Even though this rock or this basalt is ancient in its own right, it's actually, believe it or not, some of the youngest rock in the whole state of Utah, which is a pretty cool thing. So I kind of just wanted to give an up-close look at some of the amazing shapes of this basalt. Really is incredible. And you know, these shapes, this melted wax shape, beautifully represents the life that this rock once had when it was magma. You look here. Most of the lava flow here is referred to as lava flow, which winds up breaking off into these chunks and all of these, bigger rock rubble piles. And then another type of lava flow is Pahoho lava, which is kind of like a longer, ropey lava flow, which I think we can actually kind of see some right here. We almost see this huge flow that kind of maintained its shape and didn't really break into these chunks. So I almost want to say that this is a Pahoho lava flow here. Pretty cool. Here we see another massive crack in these plates of basalt. And it kind of just runs all the way here. So I just popped back out of the ice springs, and remarkable place. It's pretty wild to try and imagine this place hundreds of years ago when it was alive and flowing with hot magma. Considering that we only have so much time in the day, we do need to head out of this location and head to the next site. Okay, everybody, welcome to Tabernacle Hill. We are essentially standing right in the middle of a gigantic volcano. So I've kind of hiked to the top of this hill here where I'm able to get a real kind of 360 bigger picture view of Tabernacle Hill and this whole landscape. It's crazy because when you're down below, more on ground level, you can only see so much and your perspective only allows you to make so much sense of it. And so it's like you come up here and you start to ask more of the bigger picture questions. And so with that, I want to go back and look at some of the history of this landscape in this volcano. Check it out.
Approximately 14,000 years ago, when this entire region was engulfed by Lake Bonneville, magma that was below Earth's surface came into contact with lake water, which triggered the first series of eruptions at this site. These initial eruptions were phreatomagmatic, meaning that they were intense and explosive. As lava was aggressively thrown, a tough cone, now known as Tabernacle Hill, was formed around the vent. After this first phase of eruptions, the lava flow transitioned to an effusive state in which the lava slowly poured out of the vent and filled the tough cone with what's called a lava lake. Eventually, the lava broke through a section of Tabernacle Hill and carried away a large portion of its wall, which explains the massive gap that can be seen in the cone today. After the walls of the cone were breached, the lava lake drained from Tabernacle Hill, channeling a series of lava flows all throughout the surrounding area.
So, as we've just learned, incredibly, this landscape was previously all underwater. First, it's just shocking to even consider that this was all once just like subterranean, right? And now it is vast open land. So what's cool about over here and kind of different from the ice springs is how this basalt manifested. Over here, we see much smaller pieces of basalt, much smaller rocks and pebbles. Whereas over in the ice springs, we were seeing massive chunks. So if my understanding is correct, then these smaller pieces of basalt and volcanic rock indicate that the magma was spewed or thrown from explosions from the volcano, as opposed to more of like an ooze or a flow. One thing that I can't seem to make sense of is where the actual vents of the volcano are, or were rather. But I look over here at something like this. To me, this looks like magma that was coming up from under the Earth's crust and then kind of just only made it that far and then solidified. So I'm very unsure about this, but a part of me would want to say that maybe this was the vent of the volcano. If someone knows, please chime in, because I'd love to make more sense of this and piece this all together a little more.
Now that I had spent some time investigating Tabernacle Hill, I was ready to head towards the mysterious lava tunnels. But you must be wondering, what is the relationship between the lava tunnels and Tabernacle Hill? How do these two geologic wonders tie together? After the walls of Tabernacle Hill were deteriorated, the lava oozed from the cone in massive flows along the lake floor. As the lava traveled further from Tabernacle Hill, the surface of the lava streams cooled, solidified, and crusted. Meanwhile, hot lava continued to travel through the center of the tubes until the lava supplies diminished, leaving behind empty tunnels.
Wow. Hello. Whoa. Not gonna lie, this is freaky. Holy shit. Look at this. That looks like a perfect little shelter for an animal. It's like somebody had a fire in here. Interesting. I wonder if somebody was camping in here recently. And this particular cave is pretty shallow. However, whoa, this is creepy. Scary. Tell you what, there's a strange smell to this place. It kind of smells like a like that garage smell, that like musty, dusty, almost moldy, maybe like a little bit of a tobacco smell. And it looks like I can actually exit here. Yeah, look at that. So that was just one of them, and that one was the smaller of the two that I saw. Now we're gonna go check out the bigger one. Well, I can say with certainty, I've never seen anything like this. I've never experienced anything like this. It's pretty insane. So I gotta tell you, from here, this spot looks pretty unassuming. Just looks like a big pile of rocks. But as we make our way in and closer, we begin to see there's something more. As mentioned, this one is significantly more expansive than that first one that we just went through. But I would say it's equally as spooky. Makes you wonder what it would take for this thing to collapse. Oh my gosh. Gorgeous. So let's just think about this for a second. We're in this gigantic tunnel that's like 20 feet tall. So just imagine hot magma or lava flowing through this, creating this canal. It's it's beyond words, if you ask me. The evidence that this was once liquid is just ever so apparent. Now we're kind of in this collapsed section. Here we go into the next portion of the tunnel. Whoa. I will say, it feels a little sketchy in here, just because, I mean, you can see cracks everywhere in this outer crust. And you can clearly see here where you just have all these rocks and boulders that have just chunked off, fallen onto the ground. And it makes you think that more of them can probably fall at any time. And it makes you feel a little bit uneasy being in here. Of course, you just kind of hope that that doesn't happen. Wow, look at this gigantic skylight where this just caved in. Just when you think you've seen it all, you sure haven't. Look at this. It just gets so much more expansive. Just look at the two skylights. So cool. This is one of those places where it feels like almost like a movie set. And now it just turns into more of a canal where it was all collapsed. Jesus, whew, that was scary. Wow, look. Some super big pieces here. And it really just opens up. So as we've been walking through this lava tube, we've been moving towards Tabernacle Hill, right? Which I'm now seeing around this bend. And we can see how this tube just really opens up and becomes a whole heck of a lot wider than it was here. And then we can see part of Tabernacle Hill. And as a matter of fact, that up there is what I was pointing out as perhaps maybe being one of the vents of the volcano, is my speculation. Again, could be totally off there. So something interesting I just observed on this wall of the tube is up above we have a gigantic piece of basalt, right? Below, kind of the same situation. And in the middle, we have a different looking rock that is even a different color. And I'm kind of speculating that maybe this rock here is basalt, like magma that was mixed with some sort of marine lake sediment. Maybe some sort of sand. I would imagine it was some sort of sediment from the lake that mixed with this layer of basalt and is clearly a more easily degradable and softer rock that is wearing down quicker than this basalt above.
With the recent occurrence of these eruptions in this area, Tabernacle Hill being about 14,000 years ago, and the ice springs as recently as 700 years ago, one might wonder if more volcanic activity is in the cards for the future of this region. It's easy to look at this petrified landscape and feel a sense of security. Standing in the midst of this lifeless basaltic expanse is almost unimaginable, the idea of a new volcano erupting. But the reality is that these volcanoes are still in fact active, making a future eruption entirely possible.
Well, everyone, I am kind of coming up on the end of our adventure here, but there's something important that I should mention. This volcanic area actually expands beyond the areas that I explored and documented today. And some of those places I very much wanted to go to, but I just did have a feeling that I would run out of time, as you know, they're just so expansive and it's a lot to cover in just one day. So there will be a part 2 to this video. I don't know exactly when it will be just yet. Hopefully it'll be sooner than later. I really look forward to doing that. So I hope you all stick around so that you can see the part 2 of this volcanic world. With that said, thank you all so much for checking out the video. Thanks for coming along on this adventure. It's been a ton of fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any comments or feedback, please just leave those. I would love to hear back from you. I'd love to hear more about who's watching these videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. There's going to be much more Western adventures coming soon, and I will see you all again soon. It's Johnny Out West signing off. Bye, y'all.